So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to my Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra full in-depth review. Now I say full in-depth because I'm going to give you everything I learned about it after using it since it launched just about a week or so ago. So not too long, but definitely enough time with it to give you my full rundown on this phone. Now the price of this phone starts at $1199, trade-in value is up to $500 off, and you can get this with up to 1 terabyte of storage with multiple colorway options. This is an online exclusive color, which is actually a little bit back ordered right now, so you wouldn't be able to get this one very fast at this current time, but eventually it should be available. Phantom Black, Green Cream, Lavender, Graphite, Sky Blue, Lime Red, and a BMW M Edition are your other alternative options. Now, kind of just talking about the key specifications that you do get on board here. A 6.8 inch screen, that's QHD resolution, 1440p by 3088. You do have a triple camera on the rear here, but the big deal is the 200 megapixel camera on here, and you can zoom 100 times, and you also do have nightography, which is Samsung's way of saying a much improved night mode on here. Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is a big deal for this phone, and you also do get 12 gigabytes of RAM. The phone is also housing a 5,000 milliamp hour battery in here, which we'll talk about how it performed in this review. But overall, that's basically the key specifications you do get on board here, and the pricing and the colors that come with this phone. Now, I want to just quickly give you my take on the body and the build of this device. So kind of feeling similar to Note 20 Ultra, S22 Ultra. It's retaining that squared, edges, the kind of the boxy shape of the Note line. So this is essentially like a Note device. The only difference is they're calling it the S23 Ultra. It does have a pen in the body here, and you could see that they did start to listen a little bit. People have been asking for a flat display. I still want fully flat Samsung. Well, they're getting there. They curved a little bit less this time, but still retaining a little bit, letting you know it's still a Samsung device here, still a high-end Samsung. I'm not sure if they're going to do away with it, but I would like to see a flat S24 Ultra next year. So that would be quite nice. I mean, most people, I think, want a flat screen already. That's why a lot of people are buying the smaller S23 Plus and the S23, because they enjoy a flat panel. I think some people do like the look of this. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. It's just I want to see a flat, S24 Ultra, kind of like the Note 5. But the overall build is super premium. The edges feel very solid here. Everything about this phone just feels like a tank. Everything is strong, solid. It just feels extremely well made. And without getting into all the military specs and IP specifications, this does have IP68 obviously, but just without getting into all of it, armor aluminum frame, it's just a strong feeling phone. It's just heavy, big, and strong. It's also pretty wide, so if you have small hands, if you have small hands, this thing is going to feel like an absolute monster of a phone, and I don't think it's going to be comfortable for anybody with small hands. So this is definitely probably not the phone for most of you out there who don't like juggling around a really large device. However, having this bigger display makes it a great GPS companion, using Google Maps and stuff like that. In addition, watching videos and movies, like a little TV in your pocket right here. So yeah, overall, just nothing else to say about the body and the build. Week later, just feels incredibly durable. I will say that I still can see a little hairline scratch I got on here. You're not going to see it on video. I did get a hairline scratch. So even though these screens are getting the latest technologies, Gorilla Glass Victus 2, whatever, they still can scratch. So put screen protectors on them if you want them mint condition at the end of your ownership, if you want to trade it up for the highest value, or you want to sell it off for the highest value. So taking things over to the actual display panel here. Now I will say that the display panel is amazing on here, as always, incredibly vibrant and stuff like that. It still has that touch where it just looks better than an iPhone display. When you look at it in the store, it's just more vivid. It pops more. It feels a little sharper. You can tweak it to full HD to save battery, which is kind of what it comes with out of the box, which is weird because some people might not even turn that off and be like, this display is not the sharpest. But you have natural, vivid modes. And honestly, Samsung talked about their eye comfort shield, the enhanced comfort mode. honestly, this thing is amazing. The enhanced comfort mode really goes to work on your eyes at night, like not hurting your eyes. So I've been turning this on every single night since getting this phone, and the display experience with that on is really comforting to the eyes. It doesn't really hurt the eyes at all. No more straining and stuff like that. So I really like that new enhanced comfort mode. That's different from the eye comfort shield, which is more like a true tone. You could have that on adaptive, which is more like a true tone from iPhone. But over here with the enhanced comfort, you can adjust the colors there to be like just less vibrant. It's really comfortable at nighttime. So I use that every single night. Now, the 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate on here, combined with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, One UI 5.1 updates, it's been buttery smooth. So the display itself, incredibly smooth day to day. That's been one of the biggest things I've noticed. Just a very polished, super fast, super liquid smooth feel. Now, to me, I still think the animations might look a little better on the Pixel, as well as some people would argue the iPhone as well. But Samsung, for what they've had in the past, this is the best experience ever. And yes, it was the best experience on the last one, and the last one, and it keeps getting better. But no, for real, like finally, this is like the fastest Samsung phone I've used. I'm not just saying that, like it just really is. And I'm super happy about it. And finally, I could say you can get this Samsung phone and it's not going to feel like you just sacrifice smoothness because you want to use all these features. No, even One UI 5.1, all the features, it's buttery, it's smooth now, and that's pretty amazing. All right, so a couple other things about the display. You do have gestures, you can navigate with buttons. In addition to that, you can rotate this phone on the home screen, make it a little tablet, and Samsung takes amazing advantage of their display here by allowing you to split screen things. And also with the Labs feature, you can split screen even easier by taking 2 fingers and swiping up like so. So yeah, I mean, taking advantage of it with all those options makes this really worth it. In addition, you could have an application open, drag from the corner up here, and make a little pop view window. That's also a Labs feature. And then you could also, tweak it, bring it up to the split screen, add something in there, move it up there, give a little smaller window. You can also grab the edge panel over here and bring another application in. I mean, this is a multitasking powerhouse on board here. So Samsung really takes advantage of the display on here. Also, I will say that just the zooming, the colors, everything, it's stunning, man. Like you're really going to just really enjoy this. Also, when you are watching videos and stuff on YouTube, because this punch hole is pretty small up here, the experience of watching a movie or a video on here is far better than some competitors out there. And when you turn this thing in landscape, this phone also does have, and you can see right there, it can cover that as well if you want. This thing has a much more, it just feels like you're using a little mini television when you're watching a movie or something. It's the best media experience on a smartphone today. I think it's even better than the Z Fold because the Z Fold 4 has that crease. So that's kind of noticeable, and it's a plastic display. So on certain angles, it looks a little weird. This one right here, it's the best for a smartphone out there for watching videos and movies, hands down. So moving on to the software, there's actually not a ton to say. We do have One UI 5.1. Yes, it brings some nice features for customizations, wallpapers. You can change the lock screen sizes, the clocks. There's some customizations there. It's not too much different from what you've experienced before, but if you've never been here, look at it like this. Samsung throws all the advanced features in the kitchen sink while they've been improving the ease of use of the platform. So they're making it easier to use while still giving you pretty much what you need here. You can see motions and gestures are on board. There's a ton of them. We do have advanced lab features. We do have the ability to use different features within the S Pen experience, including taking a picture with the S Pen from far. There's a ton going on here, and I don't want to spend an hour going through every single feature in this video. What you got to know is that Samsung is basically improving the polish, the experience in terms of the smoothness of using all these features and not bogging the phone down. That's really what this phone is. Still giving you the core Samsung experience with Samsung DeX, all of the features in the kitchen sink, while at the end of the day, not lagging up the phone, not twitching, nothing like that, just giving you a boss performance. So that's what I really like about this. You can finally enjoy all this Samsung theming, all this Samsung stuff, and have something different and fun to use without any lag. And that's pretty cool. I really enjoy that. And basically what I can say about Samsung phones, what I really like is that no matter what you're looking for, they usually have that feature you think about. So if you're like, do they have this icon theming? Yes, they have it. Do they have this ability to set an alarm and then give me my clock, do they have this ability to kind of schedule out my routines and stuff like that? And yeah, they have that too. So like, it's basically like whatever you kind of think you want to do with your phone. If you thought of a feature, it's probably on this phone. And that's not something I could say about every phone. So they nailed it there with the software. It's probably one of the best out there. Now, since we're talking about software, let's talk about the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. What I've noticed in my experience using this phone all week is that we already talked about how smooth it is. We don't got to repeat that. But what I've noticed is that the performance sustains really well without warming up the device. Something I've noticed in the past is some Samsung phones get really hot. Last year's S22 Ultra got too warm for me. This one sustains great performance without any heat on board. You can also tweak the performance profiles up here, put it in a light mode to even make it less warm. You can put it in standard mode for the best processing speed, cooling efficiency, and stuff like that. So definitely, there's features and stuff like that you can do this week performance, but I gotta say, it's blazing fast while not getting too hot, and it just stays fast. It's a 4nm architecture CPU, and I just love it. The phone really benefits from this quite a bit. And while it doesn't out benchmark, iPhone 14 Pro Max and Geekbench 6, it did better in wildlife. And in real world performance, it actually takes advantage of that performance with all this multitasking, all this stuff you can do with it. So it's still really good. It also does have an always on display on board, which I don't even know if I have it enabled. Yeah, I don't even have it enabled, showing me up in the video. But it has always on display, and you can go ahead and take that always on display and customize it. You can use always on display with a S Pen note pin to the lock screen as well. So there's the always on display. You can see that right there. That signifies I do have a note. I'm not going to show it, but you can take notes and pin it to the lock screen. You'll see your fingerprint right there. So software overall, performance overall, it's a super big win here for S23 Ultra. I've had zero problems with it at all. The only thing I will say about the software, and it's more subjective, this is not even a factual thing, it's just kind of like people's opinions and stuff, and that is they might just not like the looks of the icons, the looks of the software. It's really just an opinion though. Overall though, it's probably your best alternative option to iOS if you want to have a ton of features similar. Like if you want something polished like iOS, I would recommend the Pixel. But if you want something that's an alternative, something fun to use, different, you'll really enjoy this Samsung experience. Talking about the storage and the RAM. Now, if you get this phone with the base storage, you only get 8 gigs of RAM. But I'm gonna tell you right now, that's probably not a problem, because the base 256 gig storage, 8 gigs of RAM is enough for a Samsung phone, so it probably will perform very well as well. Haven't tried it, but I've already tried the 8 gig of RAM S23 models. Those are blazing fast as well. But if you want a little bit more, you can go to the 512 gig, 256 gig, 1 terabyte option and get maximum 12 gigs of RAM. This also has UFS 4.0, so it's like the best in terms of that as well. There is no card slot though. Really would have made this phone perfect. They took that away a while ago, while Sony is still offering an SD card slot on the Xperia line. So I don't know why Samsung took that away. I still use their SD cards, the Samsung SD cards. It's just like, come on. Like, it's not a big deal. Just put it back there. I would like that in this phone. It's just, you're marketing a 200 megapixel camera, huge file storage space. It makes it easy for me to transfer it to my computer, which still utilizes those, SD card slots. So definitely I would like to have that at least on the ultra premium model. It just should have it. It's just a really good selling point and a really good reason to get it. So talking about the cameras, you can see 12 megapixel selfie, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 200 megapixel wide, 10 megapixel telephoto, and 10 megapixel 3x optical. Now, here's the thing with these cameras right here on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. It's the versatility. They're incredibly versatile. Now I got my treasure box right here. We're gonna go ahead and talk about this treasure of a camera. So you can see, there we go. Now you have 1x, 3x, 10x, ultra wide here. In addition to that, you have 100 times zoom. Now I find that only up to 30x photos actually look really good. At the 100 times, they start to look not quite as good. So even though you can zoom that far, it's a fun party trick. That's still not super sharp, even on this phone. What is sharp though is those 200 megapixel photos. They're incredibly sharp. Although they do take up a ton of space and they do take a little bit of time to process down here. You'll see this loading bar. Sometimes they're not super fast. But when you zoom in, they're tag sharp and they're going to be very good for those of you who want to print out photos and stuff. Now also, the night mode is very vibrant and bright at nighttime now, and it has a lot of like detail even when it's really dark. So nightography is huge. Videography on here is also incredible. I think the 8K is overkill. I'm never going to use that right now, but the UHD 60 is incredibly smooth on here. Has an ultra smooth frame rate. It feels like you're on a gimbal, even at UHD 60. Love that. Also, you do have the super steady on board here. And if you go over here to more, you'll see it just keeps coming. Expert RAW, Pro video. I mean, you can really dial it in here if you want to. Food mode, panoramic, super slow motion directors. It keeps going. I mean, there's a ton and ton. And what's cool is you can kind of take these and kind of move them around, put them where you want, and really customize the camera to your own liking, further carrying on the customization factor of having an Android phone. Pretty cool. Now, if you go to photo here, another thing I like is that Samsung keeps all of their features right within the camera itself. You don't have to leave the camera system to get into what you need. So you can see settings up here, all of it's right there. It's very close by. You don't have to go digging around to find it. The stuff is right within the app. Now also, you can see that they have a portrait mode, but the front-facing camera has been surprisingly really good as well. I haven't really liked Samsung cameras in the past on the front too much. They've been getting better though, and this one is one of the best I've seen. So definitely, if you're looking for a really good front-facing camera, selfie camera, you're gonna love this phone as well. That UHD 60 video is still too close to the face, but when you put it on a tripod or extend it out on a selfie stick, it will be fine. Pretty good, pretty sharp. It matches up pretty well with the rear. Overall, I wouldn't say that this is the only great option for creativity on a smartphone. There are phones that you can dial in a little bit more, like Sony's Xperia line. There's easier cameras to use, like Google's Pixel line, Apple's iPhone. But at the same time, in terms of versatility and ease of use, like this is like a versatile consumer camera, like a consumer grade and versatile smartphone camera. Like it doesn't take a lot to know to get a lot of great photos and be versatile. Whereas a Sony's phone is more like a more manual, professional, got to know what you're doing type of thing. This is a really great experience. So check out my samples. Check out what I've taken so far. Let me know your thoughts. I can 100% recommend this camera. This is a camera that will take you 5 years down the line, and you still will have a ton of usable features even then. So there's not much more they're probably going to do in the next 3 or 4 years. It's really going to change your camera experience. Like it's going to be life-changing. I don't believe it's going to happen, not life-changing stuff. So this is a definite good investment long-term. If you want a versatile camera setup, check out my experience with it. Let me know your thoughts below. Okay guys, when it comes to the audio, we do have really loud speakers here. I do find that you need to put on Dolby Atmos to get the absolute best experience here with the phone, but pretty good. Also does have really good phone call quality, incredibly good reception strength. 5G performance is strong. Wi-Fi is very fast on this phone. Wi-Fi 6E compatible, but you'll need a Wi-Fi 6E router to take advantage of that. And this one also has USB-C Type 3.2 via OTG, and you will be able to transfer this and use this with DeX. So pretty cool. You can make this a little computer. I also wanted to mention that the fingerprint sensor is incredible on here. And I will briefly talk about the S Pen. I know the S Pen seems to be the biggest deal a lot of times with this phone, but the S Pen has become a feature you just expect with the Ultra or the Note, whatever you want to call it. It's just expected. And it hasn't really gotten too much better here. It was already great. They didn't really have to improve much here. You got all your features, your pen up stuff. You can take photos with this camera or with this S Pen right here. So if that's something you want to do, you can go ahead and click it. It's probably not connected right now, but you can click it and take photos and stuff like that. Also, you can cut things out, and it really comes in handy when you're scrolling through websites or you're trying to edit on your phone, stuff like that, where those little tasks that are just tight to touch with your finger, this can be really useful. And if you're artistic, a lot of people do really use the S Pen. You'll find a ton of art samples, a ton of like drawings and colorings that people have done. These are real drawings and coloring from the coloring app that they have done. It's pretty incredible, some of these artworks in here. It's really quite impressive. So yeah, if you're into that stuff, there's a whole thriving community of that too, if you want to get into that. And I think one of the last things I'm going to talk about, we cover pretty much everything, is the battery life on this phone. The battery life with the 5,000 milliamp hour, mostly because they've improved the efficiency of the software and the performance of the chip is better. The battery life gets me easily through a full day. I finished my days with this phone around 49 to 55%, which is pretty good. That means I'm going into the next day. Another thing I'm pretty happy with is that it doesn't drain too much overnight. It's still not the best I've seen, but they're improving their drain overnight, or basically when in standby time. You also have routines you could set up, which when you set up the sleep routine on this phone, it can tweak things down here. So let's go back to settings here. We'll go to modes and routines. When you tweak your sleep routine, you can actually change, like grayscale it, lower brightness, lower performance and stuff, and it should save you even more battery life. So I'm not going to end this video without talking about any cons. Is there any cons to this phone? And I could say there's very little cons to this phone, but the biggest con to me is more of a subjective thing. So it's not technically a con, but kind of is for some people. It's the size. The overall feel of it kind of being sharp, big. This is a selling point. So it's not like Samsung should get rid of it. I'm just saying this could be the reason why somebody goes to a smaller Galaxy S23 Plus or S23. That's why they have those options though. Another con I would say is that I don't like how you got to go to this phone to get the highest end features. I wish they would make one phone below this smaller for people who don't want this phone with these cameras with all the best stuff on it, instead of giving you those little bit more watered down versions with the S23 Plus and S23. And I would say I would like them to go to a fully flat screen. That's about it. They can always improve the battery life. It's not overly impressive, even though it's really good this year. It still doesn't overly impress me. Battery life can still get better. They can probably put SD card. They want to be nice, but there's not many cons to this phone. It's pretty rock solid, incredible. And the only thing that you would say is you wouldn't use this phone is if you just don't like Samsung phones. Like, honestly, it's a great option. Probably the best option if you want everything in the kitchen sink. That's it for me with the Galaxy S23 Ultra. Let me know your thoughts on this phone down below in the comment section of this video. If you found it helpful, entertaining, informing, click the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.